Jack take offense that the third eye claims to be stronger than a captain, and he wanted to put that theory to the test. The two sides stared each other down and a cataclysmic battle awaited us. Now, Neej tells Noel he intends to turn himself over to the Magic Knights as thanks for Asta saving his life. Meanwhile, Noel's worrying if Rebecca is the girl Asta has his eyes on. Meanwhile, Nozel of the Silver Eagles, Charlotte of the Blue Roses, and Jack the Ripper of the Green Praying Mantises make a hero's entrance. Jack threatens to cut Yami up on the spot, while Charlotte insults Yami for being defeated. But in truth, she cannot bring herself to admit her feelings for him. Yami makes fun of Nozel's hair and the rest of the Black Bulls wonder how he styles his middle braid, and Nozel threatens to kill them instead. After their not-so-friendly banter, the three knight captains engage the third eye, but they are evenly matched. Charlotte's Briarthorn magic is cut down by Raya's stolen dark magic. Jack's severing magic has little effect on Veto, and Nozel's mercury magic is melted in Fauna's flames. Yami asks Finral to teleport him to Licht to deal the finishing blow. Predicting this would happen, Licht has already readied a second light ray. To everyone's surprise, Asta emerges from the dust undetected due to his lack of magic. He strikes Licht into the ground, causing Jack to remark that Asta stole the show. Suddenly, an unbelievable amount of magic begins spilling out of Licht, and the seal placed on him is dispelled due to Asta's attack. Licht identifies Asta's blades as the Demo Slayer sword and the Demon Dweller sword, and angrily tells him to return it to its rightful owner, their master. As the Magic Knights fear that the magic will soon kill them all, the Third Eye hastily perform a sealing ritual to restrain Licht. Realizing the battle is lost, the Third Eye retreats, but swear that they will always be watching. The Magic Knights consider this a victory and Asta collapses from exhaustion. While the other captains squabble, Nozel takes note of Asta as he realizes there is more than meets the eye. Back in the Midnight Sun's base, the members are worried that the Clover Kingdom will soon double their efforts to investigate their activities. Asta awakens to see himself being healed by Mimosa and sees both Klaus and Yuno. He learns that he was unconscious for a whole day and that Neej has been taken into custody. Ghosh pays his respects to Teresa, and although they are both hostile to one another, he is glad that she is alive, causing her to remark that he has matured a little. Asta arrives to greet Teresa as well, and Marie excitedly swings on his arm, causing Ghosh to revert to his old self. Noel calls Asta to leave, but they first make a stop at Rebecca's house, where he eats prepared a wonderful meal she had prepared for him. She gives him a kiss on the cheek which embarrasses Asta, and Noel is frantic. When they arrive back at the Black Bull's base, they have a potato pie eating contest to celebrate their return, a bout from which Charmy emerges on top, to the surprise of no one. Yami then receives a letter from the capital, asking him and Asta to attend a captain's meeting the next day. Yami and Asta arrive at the castle, and Asta meets King Julius's advisor called Marx for the first time. He leads them down into the dungeons where they keep two of the Midnight Sun members prisoner. Suspecting a traitor among the Magic Knight captain's ranks, he has Asta undo the protective spell on the prisoners, allowing him to read their minds. Meanwhile, the squad captains are gathered in a conference room squabbling over minor details, while Rill constantly tries to lighten the mood. However, the captain of the Golden Dawn Vangeance arrives late, citing the business matters he had to attend to, but Nozel is suspicious that Vangeance was not present during the earlier awards ceremony. However, he doesn't answer. Marx then calls the captains into the dungeons, where he reveals that thanks to Asta's help, he knows there is a traitor amongst their ranks. The traitor is revealed to be Gelder Poizot, the captain of the Purple Orcas. Although he stammers that he was merely framed, Marx says his magic is absolute. They suggest peering into Gelder's memories to confirm his innocence, but he casts his invisibility magic and escapes. The captains remark that his magic leaves him impervious to magic, but Yami says there is no need to worry. Asta uses his Kai to track Gelder down. Rill arrives and uses his magic to restrain the traitor and happily greets Asta, who finds his anti-magic abilities interesting. The other Magic Knight captains and Julian arrive and they interrogate Gelder. They learn of his secret dealings from abusing his squadmates, making deals with the Midnight Sun, and crucially kidnapping the barrier mages that allowed the attack on the capital to happen. Julius dismisses the captains and tells them that he plans to make this matter of betrayal private to prevent a panic. As the captains leave, one of them changes back into Raya, who he was is a mystery. Julius says Yami and Asta stay behind and explains to them another key piece of information from their interrogations. The Eye of the Midnight Sun is gathering several magic stones. They mean to place these stones into a stone tablet that, once completed, will grant them immense power. For this purpose, they attacked Fugolian for his possession of such a magic stone. There are 3 stones left, and Julius identifies one location, the Underwater Temple, as holding one of these stones. He charges the Black Bulls with the task of retrieving it. Asta's anti-magic key in eliminating the magic barriers present in the temple. Remembering the kindness that Julius once showed to an outsider like him, Yami uncharacteristically salutes and swears to prove to everyone that Julius did not make a mistake in choosing him. When the Black Bulls learn that they are going to beach, they are ecstatic, but Yami angrily reminds them that they are going there for work. While coming home from a mission, Klaus, Yuno, and Mimosa respond to a shriek coming from below, but it was only Noel, embarrassed at having been stripped nude by Vanessa. Noel has trouble picking out a swimsuit, and a store clerk suggests a gaudy-looking bikini with gold embellishments, which she buys. The following day, the Black Bulls prepare to leave but find that Yami had already left hours before them. They head to the seaside town of Rak, and for the first time, Asta and Noel see Grey showing off her shape-shifting powers. However, they soon realize they left behind Gordon at their base. They arrive at the beach and play around. Bolt and Magna chase each other. Finral tries to flirt with girls. Ghost shows off the beach to Marie using his mirror. Charmy tries to smash a watermelon while Noel tries to show off her swimsuit to Asta. Sek also happens to be in the area and is unknowingly trampled by the Black Bulls. Yami arrives and scolds them for playing around, and the Black Bulls are surprised that he was actually doing work. He explains that the underwater temple is located deep in the ocean. The magic barrier surrounding it ordinarily prevents even first-rate mages from breaking through, but they have a chance when it weakens during a full moon. With the next full moon a week away, he orders Noel to gain control over her magic within that time lest they be crushed underwater. That night, Noel trains to improve her only spell, Sea Dragon's Lair, but she makes no progress. She runs into Asta, who is also training, and she reluctantly agrees to train together. Asta notices a beautiful voice, and accompanied by Noel they find a girl singing atop a boulder. Julius wonders how the Black Bulls are doing, wishing he could have gone with them to the temple. However, the Black Bulls are currently being rowdy beasts, destroying the villa they are staying in. Meanwhile, Asta and Noel meet the singing girl Kahona, whose dream is to become an idol. She is friendly and outgoing, and upon noticing that Asta's body is fatigued, she uses her song recovery magic to heal him. Noel is impressed when she notices that Kahona's magic control is sharp and precise. The three become quick friends, and Noel is secretly overjoyed to have made a friend close to her age. When Kahona learns that the two are training for a secret mission, she asks Noel to show off her magic. Kahona then suggests that Noel find a calm memory to work with, as a steady heart is necessary for astute magic control. However, Noel only recalls her troubled past of being bullied by her siblings, and she walks away. Noel struggles to train over the next few days, and as the day of the mission draws near, she is still unable to control her magic properly. Asta suggests that she let out all her magic at once like she did when they first met, and he promises to deal with the fallout. Noel unleashes all her magic at once, but as expected it runs wild. She slowly begins to accept her fate, as she has no happy memories with which to fall back on to control her magic. However, the Black Bulls suddenly arrive and give her words of encouragement, reminding her that while she never had any happy memories with her family, she has made countless happy memories with her new ones. Knowing that they put their trust in her, she puts her trust in herself and creates a new spell, the Sea Dragon's Cradle. Everyone celebrates her success, however she soon collapses due to exhaustion. Asta catches her and she slaps him for touching her so casually. She turns to thank Kahona for her help, but she is nowhere to be seen. Kahona remarks that Noel has some good friends and says that she will be waiting for her at the bottom, and she dives into the sea. Noel is nervous at first, but she calms herself after seeing how much her teammates trust her. She successfully performs the Sea Dragon's Cradle, and they begin their perilous descent beneath the sea. They are rocked by the turbulent undersea currents and the equally dangerous threat of Vanessa vomiting all over them. They finally reach the magic barrier, and Yami orders Asta to cut through it, but he replies that he cannot swim. Yami impatiently grabs Asta and hurls him into it. They find themselves in an underwater city filled with houses carved into the coral. They use Charmy's cotton magic to float towards the underwater temple. They meet the citizens of the underwater city, who are surprisingly friendly. They lead the Black Bulls towards the temple, and once there, they meet the High Priest, an eccentric old man. Knowing that they have come for the magic stone, he jokingly proposes a game of chess squishing, which instantly earns him a beating from Noel. As the rest of the Black Bulls consider just beating up the High Priest for the stone, he proposes a battle royale between the Black Bulls and his very own temple mages, all of whom are wearing strange fish masks. He sends them down various water tunnels across the temple and explains the rules. Each member will fight the other one-on-one, but they are allowed to seek out allies to turn it into a group battle. Noel is the first to realize that the Black Bulls are down a member, but does not recall they left behind Gordon. Asta's opponent, a large octopus-faced man, belittles him for being a weakling with no magic. Asta draws his sword and invites the octopus face to find out for himself if he really is weak. Yami and the head priest called Jifso sit down and enjoy watching the fights together. When Jifso learns that the Black Bulls are junior magic knights, he comments that his temple mages outclass them. But to his surprise, the Black Bulls are far stronger than their rank suggests. Luck, Magna, Ghosh, and Asta all instantly win their first fights. Although incensed his mages lost so quickly, Jifso says that the battle is not over yet. Jifso sends a giant fish against Finral for doing nothing but try to escape, while Charmy has spent the past few minutes eating. A temple mage appears that lulls her to sleep with magic, which Jifso considers a victory. Magna and Luck arrive in the same cave and meet Geo, Jifso's son. Luck attacks first, but his thunder magic is deflected by Geo's sea god's shield despite Luck having a type advantage. Meanwhile, Asta encounters Kaito, who begins to show off his sword dance, and Asta is starstruck. Kaito shares his dream about one day being able to go to the surface to become a famous dancer, but he says they are forbidden from going beyond the shorelines. He then explains that if they win this battle royale, Jifso promised they could go as far as the capital, and for the sake of his dream he will cut Asta down. Asta shares his own dream of becoming the Wizard King, and the two enter a deadly melee. Worried she has yet to master any offensive moves, Noel encounters Kahono. Although reluctant to fight a friend, she is forced to defend herself against Kahono's lullaby magic with her sea dragon's cradle. When Kahono notices Noel's spells go off target, she tells her that she has a subconscious fear of hurting others. Meanwhile, Asta has trouble reading Kaito's moves despite using Kai. He tries to calm down and empty his mind, and he finally slashes Kaito. Vanessa has also shown promising success, surprising Yami, and he regrets that he didn't bet more. He then warns Jifso that the Midnight Sun are after the magic stone as well and asks him to hand it over just in case. But just on cue, a giant whale crashes into a cave, crushing Geo underneath. The Eye of the Midnight Sun have arrived and they have come for the stone. Minutes earlier, Veto killed several magic knights, alerting Sek. He conjures a giant magic whale and descends into the ocean below. Magna and Luck stare down Veto, the beast of the Midnight Sun. Geo regains consciousness and asks what Veto is after. He replies he is also after the magic stone, and he sends forth his allies to terrorize the city. Geo tries smashing him with Sea God's hammer, but it falls flat against Veto's rhinoceros armor. In the blink of an eye, Veto defeats all three mages present. Realizing the danger his squad is in, Yami asks to be let out, but Jifso says it is impossible for him to until his magic game is done. Yami tries escaping himself, but one of the Midnight Sun mages has erected a spatial magic dome over their building, preventing him from leaving. Using Jifso's magic, Yami announces to his squad that Veto and the Midnight Sun have invaded, and tasks them with the almost impossible feat of defeating him, telling them to surpass their limits here and now. Jifso adjusts the rules of his game, instructing his temple mages to cooperate with the Black Bulls and assigning them a new condition for victory: take down Veto. As Veto turns to leave, Magna and Luck get up, spurred on by the words of their captain. Luck asks Veto to charge at him and he obliges, but to his surprise Luck manages to dodge and return fire. Luck is miraculously able to keep up with Veto, who is touted to have magic power exceeding even that of a magic knight captain. As Magna recalls his tumultuous relationship with Luck, he admits that he is his best friend. Likewise, Luck recalls his own friendship with Magna and recognizes him as his first ever friend. Having set aside their fight for later, Asta and Kaito race towards the battle against Veto. Asta has great confidence in the abilities of his two seniors, and in a pinch they can be reliable. Luck and Magna refuse to surrender despite the difference in power, as they'd never be able to look Asta in the eye if they do. They perform a fusion of their two magics, a flame lightning explosive cannon which hits Veto at point blank range. Asta and Kaito arrive just in time to see Veto take the full brunt of their attack. The force of their combined magic is a sight to behold, but to the horror of Asta and everyone watching, the attack does nothing to Veto, who truly is a wild force of nature. Before Veto can deal the finishing blow, Asta jumps to his squad's defense. Recognizing him as the one who mortally wounded Licht, Veto promises to give Asta a thorough beating. Asta and Kaito join forces and attack Veto, but he is far too fast and they are barely able to keep up. As Vanessa senses the battle raging above her, a mage appears behind her. Charmy remains asleep, but a crab tugs at her. Meanwhile, Ghosh faces off against Zarek, a chain magic user who can instantaneously destroy offensive magic as soon as it is cast. Ghosh tries several other tricks, but he is forced to retreat by Zarek's giant chain balls. While he recovers from his wounds, a crab tugs away at his pants. Ghosh returns to battle Zarek, who seemingly destroys his mirror double, but the real Ghosh appears behind him again, blasting him with a large reflect ray. The crab and body double was gray in disguise all along. The two of them find Charmy still asleep, much to Ghosh's annoyance. When they walk over to her, they are caught in a vine trap set up by Zuda, a Midnight Sun mage. Their magic is slowly being drained away from them, and Ghosh comes up with a plan. He tells Gray to transform a nearby boulder into a slab of meat, which successfully rouses Charmy from her slumber. She summons a giant sheep that pummels Zuda into the wall before happily leaping onto the meat, but is disappointed when it was nothing but a rock all along. With the last of Gray's magic used up, he is no longer able to maintain his magic, but much to Charmy's shock, Gray's real appearance is that of a girl. Ignoring her in favor of his sister Marie, Ghosh wonders how Asta is faring against Veto. Asta and Viato continue their assault, but Veto easily swats them like flies. Asta refuses to give up and tries again, but Veto finds his resilience irritating and begins instilling into Asta the feeling of despair. Veto begins to crush his wrist, but he is saved by Noel and Kohana, who have come to his rescue. Noel and Kohono arrive to see their comrades broken and beaten. Asta attempts another attack, but he is repelled once more. Kohono sees her brother Kayato and screams at him, reminding him of their dream to go to the surface. He is reinvigorated and the two begin a song-dance combo spell and engage Veto. Viato's wind slashes manage to damage Veto bit by bit, but he is unable to inflict major damage. Veto becomes irritated with the siblings' spouting of dreams and proclaims that it is they, the Midnight Sun, that have true dreams. In sick act of cruelty, Veto crushes one of Viato's legs, forever robbing him of his ability to dance, and he crushes Kohono's windpipe, silencing her songs forever, and to Veto's dismay, Kohono's eyes are still full of spirit. As Veto begins crushing Kohono to death, Noel calls him out to let her friend go, but Veto just ignores her words. Noel suddenly hears Kohono's voice in her head encouraging her, and says that she is ready to fight for those she loves. Noel begins amassing a huge amount of magic, before remembering Fugolian's words, being weak is nothing to be ashamed of, but staying weak is. Veto recognizes Noel as royalty and she introduces herself as hailing from the Silva family. Noel unleashes her new attack magic, the Sea Dragon's Roar. Veto attempts to parry it with his beast claws, but the force proves to be too much for him to handle. He is blown away with the attack, even penetrating the magic barriers surrounding the island. When the dust settles, Veto has lost an arm. Yami is astounded at Noel's magical power. Recalling a painful past, Veto grows a third eye on his forehead and commends Noel for forcing him to this point. He miraculously regrows his arm, a feat that stuns Jifso, as even the best recovery magic cannot regrow lost limbs. Veto begins preparing his magic and Yami yells at Noel to run away. However, Noel holds her ground, and as the magic blast strikes her, she realizes that the last of her magic was used up in her last attack. Yami looks on anxiously and sees that Asta has regained consciousness and blocked the attack with his blade. He cannot help but feel proud of his young pupil. Asta picks up his blade and proclaims that they haven't given up yet. Vanessa is distracted by the vast amount of magic above, and her opponent Toik tells her she does not have the luxury of looking away. Asta and Noel stare at the frighteningly powerful Veto, with Noel remarking he looks just like the fiends from her mother's fairy tales. Yami tries to force his way out and yells at the Midnight Sun Mage that he's going to beat him up when he gets out. Vanessa struggles against the combination of Toik's sound and needle magic. However, she successfully lures him into a position where her threads restrain him, and he forces him to absorb his own magic, defeating him. Noel is astounded that Asta is somehow still standing, and he explains that Kohana healed him little by little, which moves Noel. Hiding in the shadows, Finral is terrified of Veto and chooses to escape instead. He hears Asta give a speech about not giving up being his only weapon, but this only causes Finral to grow even more frantic, as he thinks the fight is impossible. Veto targets the fallen around him with a barrage of beast magic, but Vanessa arrives just in time to carry them to safety, restraining Veto in the process. She remarks that she finally understands why the Black Bulls like Asta so much. He never surrenders. She loudly asks her captain to confirm her reasoning, and he agrees. Because of Asta, everyone in the Black Bulls have gone beyond their limits, including him. Breaking free from his bonds, Veto says that no matter how many of them come, they are all insignificant insects compared to him. He fires a blast of energy, but it is redirected back at him by Finral, who had finally worked up the courage to come forward. Vanessa instructs Noel to protect the injured members while the three of them face Veto. They beautifully conduct hit and run tactics against him, teleporting and manipulating Asta's movements using Finral's portals and Vanessa's puppet strings. The movements confuse Veto, who cannot keep up with the pace. Asta finally lands a decisive strike on Veto, and he declares that with his blades and courage he will defeat him. Meanwhile, Gauche and Grey have yet to recover their magic. Meanwhile, Charmy prepares a meal and tells them to eat. As the Black Bulls facing Veto continue their assault, Veto has gotten used to their attack patterns and manages to scratch Asta. Yami warns them that the same attack won't work anymore. They all must surpass their limits here and now, and after hearing their captain's words, they reply with a resounding yes sir. Vanessa and Finral amp up their magic casting, and they both reflect on how far they've come. Vanessa was once trapped in a cage by the Queen of Witches, and although she resigned herself to her fate, she realizes that all along she just lacked courage, the same courage Asta is showing her now. She yells at Asta, telling him she's about to go even faster. We then discover that Finral was the firstborn son of the illustrious Vaude family, a clan of spatial magic users. However, due to his poor magical ability, his father favored his younger brother called Langris, who was his better. Ostracized by his own family, Finral ran away to join the Black Bulls. Lacking confidence in his own abilities, Yami reminds him that he has his own way of fighting, and Finral yells at Asta to trust him as he quickens his pace. Despite their bravado, both Veto and the Black Bulls know they are approaching the limits of their magical output. As Veto tries to strike back, he is hit by a reflect ray as Gauche, Gray, and Charmy have come to their rescue. Gauche uses a volley of reflect rays to kick up dirt, Charmy summons her giant sheep, and Gray summons several clones of Asta, all to distract Veto. Veto grows irritated at their resistance, but Asta bursts through a portal, stabbing Veto. Asta's strike finds its mark and they think they've won, but Veto reveals this was all part of his plan. He proceeds to crush Asta, breaking one of his arms in the process. The Black Bulls look on in horror as their greatest chance at beating Veto falls to his knees. Veto laughs and tells them to despair, but Asta remains defiant. The Black Bulls are galvanized by his display of courage and they regain their fighting spirit. Vanessa pulls him out of harm's way and Veto gives chase, but he is struck by a reflect ray and a water blast. Vanessa supports Asta's broken limb with her threads and they prepare for another counterattack. As they begin their assault anew, Veto realizes he cannot track his movements due to the Demon Slayer sword still inside him. He pulls it out, swatting Asta out of the air. He moves to finish the job but is unnerved when he sees a dark energy envelop Asta, which he recognizes as that of a demon. Asta unleashes a barrage of slashes with Vanessa and Finral's help before dealing the final decisive strike, knocking Veto out. The Black Bulls celebrate their victory as Vanessa and Finral embrace the exhausted Asta. Noel is complimented as well, and when Asta pats her on the head, she becomes flustered and shoves him away. An unconscious Veto recalls a memory of him and licked regarding an injured bird and had considered him the personification of hope. He then remembers their suffering at the hands of humans and he regains his magic. Veto means to self-destruct, destroying the temple and killing everyone within. The Black Bulls realize this was the same blast that the magic captains once desperately tried to stop. Asta encourages them to fight back, reigniting their will. Then suddenly Yami appears, having gone beyond his limits in destroying the spatial magic. He praises his squad mates for their hard work and reassures them that he will take care of this. He unleashes his dark cloak dimension slash, piercing through the very dimension itself, taking out Veto for good. The Black Bulls rush to praise their captain except for Gauche, who just wants to see Marie. Jifso kneels and thanks them for saving the underwater temple. Yami asks for the stone, but Jifso is unaware what he is referring to. Nero returns with the magic stone in his beak and Yami retrieves it. Yami praises the squad once more, who begin falling one by one as they're exhausted. The Midnight Sun mourn Veto's death and Fauna swears that she will never forgive them. The Black Bulls recuperate in a hospital bed where, after exchanging some friendly banter, they notice a crowd has gathered outside cheering them on. Meanwhile, Noel visits Kahono and Kayato, apologizing that she was unable to protect her voice. Using her magic, she tells Noel that her voice will eventually heal, and Noel Pinky promises to attend her concert one day. As she leaves, Kayato has fallen for Noel and asks his sister to introduce him. Asta, who has now broken both his arms, runs into Yami, paying respects to the fallen Veto. Asta lays down some flowers he had found and reflects that even though Veto was undeniably evil, he can't help but think that they too had something important to fight for. Asta remembers his promise with Yuno and resolves to be even stronger. The following day, the Black Bulls bid farewell to the underwater temple, and to their surprise, Kahono begins singing and the rest of the citizens join in. The Black Bulls depart with the Song of the Sea ringing true behind them, bringing this chapter of their journey to a close. The Black Bulls settle in their base, where they realize that they'd forgotten to bring Gordon along, who is sulking at being left behind. Yami brings Finral, Asta, and Charmy, who has 4 of the Midnight Sun prisoners, to report to Julius. As they leave, Asta remarks that a stone Nero found at Saucy Village is similar to a magic stone. They teleport near the castle while Finral to stay behind in town. Julius is impressed with their work and informs them that he has sent Veto to be autopsied, while the other prisoners will soon be interrogated. While Julius praises Charmy for her powerful restraining magic, Yami hands over the magic stone. Suddenly, Marx communicates that Chiton, a city on the border with the Diamond Kingdom, is under attack. Troubled by this news, Julius notices that this is no ordinary border skirmish. The attack is being led by Lagus, Brox, and Yegos, 3 of the 8 Shining Generals, the equivalent of the Clover Kingdom's magic captains. The generals remark that Chiton is in a strategic location and capturing it will prove to be advantageous in the future. Ragus uses his lightning magic and disables the city's magic barrier, and Brox mounts his clay boar, smashing through the walls, and chaos erupts in the city as the defenders are slain in droves. Although the situation is is dire, the Golden Dawn arrives with Vangeance himself making an appearance. Brox is amused that they would only send a single squad to defend the city, but Yuno blows him away. Sylph remarks that Yuno will never make friends if he never smiles. Julius has no reinforcements to spare and Yami volunteers to go. Although he denies Asta's request to join on account of his injuries, Charmy says he will keep an eye on him, but in truth, she just wants to see Yuno. They go off in search of Finral, who is still flirting with girls. Vangeance tells Langris that they will make the Diamond Kingdom regret ever attacking their country. Yami interrupts Finral while he tries to flirt with girls and strong-arms him into creating a portal to Chiton. Yuno faces off against Brox, who is surprised at his power. Ragus arrives a few moments later to offer his assistance, but Brox has none of it. Ragus fires off a volley of lightning bolts, but Yuno uses Sylph's wind magic to not only fire back his own arrows, however he manages to penetrate Ragus' defensive barrier. Hiding in the shadows, Lotus cannot believe Yuno has gotten even stronger. The Golden Dawn continues their desperate defense of the city, but Yegos uses his slime magic to keep them at bay. Langris arrives and uses his spatial magic to rip out Yegos' magic and his arm, causing immense collateral damage in the process. Lotus notices Vangeance casting a powerful spell and notices that it is sucking up the magic of those in the city. He tries to warn the generals, but they are too busy bickering over who gets to fight Yuno. Vangeance activates his magic, World Tree, Nesteltine, summoning an enormous tree whose branches capture nearly the entire Diamond Kingdom army. The Black Bulls arrive at Chiton, and Asta is awestruck by the massive tree, which Yami identifies as Vangeance's magic. He instructs Asta and Charmy to tend to the townsfolk while he has a chat with the Golden Dawn captain. Brox is enraged that the army was annihilated and he leaves to seek out vengeance, while Ragus is left behind to engage Yuno. Ragus is in disbelief that he, a shining general, is being pushed back. He attempts to fight back, but Yuno finishes him off with a single strike. Yuno lands next to Asta and comments on his injuries, but says he doesn't plan to lose to him. Klaus and Mimosa soon arrive and exchange greetings with Asta, but they soon leave to tend to continue their operations. Brox finally finds Vangeance and attempts to crush him, but he is defeated with a single spell. Lotus arrives and attempts a sneak attack, however Yami comes to his defense and Lotus is forced to retreat. Yami turns to Vangeance and asks him to remove his mask, suspecting him of being licked in disguise. Asta and Yuno chat happily together and Sylph angrily asks who this shrimp is. Yuno replies that they used to live, sleep, and bathe together. Charmy appears and gives Yuno a snack which attracts the ire of Sylph. The two begin fighting over Yuno's affections and Charmy chases Sylph around. Finral teleports next to them and introduced to Yuno. Langris then arrives, mockingly calling out to his younger brother. He begins insulting the Black Bulls themselves, but Finral does not take kindly to having his friends insulted. Langris is suddenly attacked by a slime from Yegos who survived. However, this time, Yegos has littered his slime body with civilians, preventing Langris from using his spatial magic. However, Langris decides to use his magic anyway, writing off the civilians as unfortunate sacrifices. Asta protests and says that they will handle it themselves, but Langris laughs at Asta and wonders what he can do in his condition. Asta calls for his squad mate's assistance, bouncing off of Charmy's sheep and using Finral's portals to close the gap against Yegos. He emerges from the portal with the Demon Slayer sword firmly in his teeth and defeats the general. Meanwhile, Yami asks Vangeance to take off his mask, noting that his kai, frame, and voice are all too similar to Licht's. Vangeance obliges and removes his mask, revealing horrific scars on his face which he says he was born with. He explains that he was the bastard son of a noble and was adopted by another family. He grew up scorned for his appearance, however Julius judged him not by his scars, but by the strength of his magic. It was Julius who gave Vangeance his signature mask. Yami senses that he is not lying, nor is he masking his face with a disguise. He apologizes to Vangeance for prying. They receive a call that the Diamond Kingdom has retreated and Vangeance orders the Golden Dawn to tend to the wounded. Finral, Asta, and Charmy depart to find Yami. Meanwhile, Langris warns Yuno against associating with peasants, but he replies that Asta is his rival. Simultaneously, both he and Asta affirm their dream of becoming the Wizard King, and Yuno says that being the captain of the Golden Dawn is the first step. Julius is suspicious about the Diamond Kingdom's true intentions. Meanwhile, Lotus reports to an unseen figure regarding the spells and magic used during the battle. The figure remarks that the shining generals they sent were relics of the past. The time has come for their new battle mages to come to the fore. Yami brings Asta to Owen, a doctor working directly under the Wizard King, to get his arms healed. He then excuses himself, citing he has business to attend to. Owen uses his water magic and discovers something that leaves Asta devastated, and after overhearing them, Finral is also disturbed. Asta returns to Finral just as Yami arrives with a large sack. They return to the Black Bull's base where Yami reveals that because of their recent successes, they have finally gotten out of their star deficit. He throws an elaborate feast in celebration, much to the delight of the squad. After much merrymaking, Asta excuses himself, which worries everyone as he never gets tired. Finral calls the attention of the bulls and breaks the terrible news. Asta's arms are affected by an ancient curse and they are impossible to heal, therefore Asta will never swing his sword again. This leaves them distraught and they lament Asta's cruel fate. He had overcome his lack of magic through sheer hard work, but his arms were robbed from him. They follow Asta to a cliffside where they see him sitting on a rock. He suddenly jumps up and loudly declares he will not give up, and the black bulls are moved by his determination. The next morning, Asta finds that the base is empty save for Yami. He notices Finral and Noel chatting outside and overhear that the members have all gone out of their way to try and find a cure for Asta's arms. Magna and Luck delve into a dungeon, Gauche and Gordon scour the royal library for clues, and Charmy and Gray search the jungles for ingredients. They remark that they want to do everything they can for Asta, who they commend for always being the first on the scene. Asta walks out of the base and is brought to tears. Despite not being blessed with magic, he was blessed with great friends. Meanwhile, Noel and Finral note Vanessa's absence, having left much earlier than the rest. The two step into a magic portal to visit a strange man in shack. Noel and Finral visit Fanzel Kruger, a man who had mentored Asta in the past. 5 months ago, right after Asta receives his grimoire, he meets the naked Fanzel after saving him from a rampaging boar. Fanzel thanks him for his help and for the food. As thanks, he invites him to his house. After they settle in, Asta asks what Fanzel is doing out in the forest alone, and he replies that he is waiting for a certain someone. When he learns that Asta is training, he invites him to stay at his house for the duration. Fanzel begins training Asta in swordplay, revealing that his wind magic also takes the form of a sword. The training proceeds well, and Fanzel remarks that out of all his students in the past, Asta could probably be in the top 2. One day, a woman named Mariella arrives, one of Fanzel's old students. He explains she is helping him search for his fiancée, Domina. He reveals that they were once part of the Diamond Army, but fed up with their cruel ways, they deserted. After being hunted by assassins, they were separated. Mariella brings news that Domina might be dead, producing her bloodied wand. Fanzel is inconsolable and asks to be left alone. While mourning his wife, he is suddenly attacked by Mariella, who has betrayed him. Several Diamond Kingdom mages emerge and take him prisoner. Asta bursts in to rescue him, but Fanzel has lost the will to live and asks that he leave instead. Asta ignores this and strikes down several mages, and encourages Fanzel that a reason to live is not something you have, it is something you search for. Fanzel's spirit is reinvigorated, and he takes up arms against the remaining mages. However, Marielle, citing Fanzel's old teachings, signals a retreat. Asta and Fanzel part ways, and the latter says that he will do his best to search for Domina, who he believes is still alive. However, he soon returns, being chased by a giant boar, and asks him to defeat it as his final lesson. After the events of the underground dungeon, Noel flees from a naked Fanzel. He chases her into the Black Bull's base, where he is promptly beaten and tied up. Asta soon arrives to clear up the misunderstanding. Fanzel then asks about Noel's wand, which he recognizes as being the handiwork of his fiancée. Realizing that Domina is still alive, he is overjoyed. Suddenly, a loud rumbling rocks the Black Bull's base. Fanzel's assassins have arrived. Mariella and her commander, Gallio, oversee the assault from afar. Mariella asks to be sent through a portal for insurance, and Gallio obliges. The attack continues, but Noel's water barrier shields the base. Fanzel emerges from the field, alongside Magna and Luck, who wreak havoc on the enemy lines. Gauche appears behind Gallio and blasts him with his mirror magic, sending him crashing below, where Fanzel is waiting. Gallio points out that he had already sent assassins after his fiancée, but they were prepared for that all along, and Fanzel suddenly transforms into Gray. Meanwhile, Domina reunites with Fanzel, but beats him up for taking so long. Mariella suddenly appears and explains that this entire assault was orchestrated by her to take revenge on the assassin's squad. With her squad wiped out, the organization will take months to reorganize. She plans to turn herself over to the Clover Kingdom as penance for her actions thus far. Gallio appears, having realized that Mariella has turned traitor. He traps Asta, Fanzel, and Mariella inside his spatial magic, but he is no match for their combined might. Meanwhile, Yami finally recognizes Faisal as an old Diamond commander and gets the gist of the situation. He asks Ghost to keep this incident a secret. Later, Fanzel, Domina, and Mariella bid farewell to the Black Bulls, thanking them for their help. Back in the present, Noel asks Fanzel and Domina about a way to heal Asta's arms, and Domina remarks that there might be a way in her homeland, the Witch's Forest. Right on cue, Vanessa enters the Witch's Forest. Domina explains that the Witch's Forest is made up solely of witches, specializing in curse and familiar magic. Finral puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that this is the reason Vanessa went off on her own. Domina suspects that Vanessa mustered up a great deal of determination, as leaving the forest makes one a fugitive. Vanessa may never return. Noel insists that they be taken to the forest despite Domina's warnings. They pick up Asta on the way and intentionally keep him in the dark about their destination. Meanwhile, Vanessa tries to bargain with her queen. If she can be taught the ancient dispelling magic, she will stay behind of her own volition. The group soon arrive at the outskirts of the forest, and Domina produces 2 cloaks that hide one's magical power to prevent detection by the queen. Shiden, a member of the Eye of the Midnight Sun, informs Fauna of the bull's destination. Her thirst for revenge against them has grown even stronger. They enter the forest, where Finral narrowly gives themselves away when he overhears a magic potion. A security golem flies nearby the girls, and they pass by undetected. However, the boys' cloak get caught in a branch, causing them to spiral into the girls, thus losing their cloaks. They are immediately attacked by the golems, and after Finral tries to flirt with some girls, they rush headfirst into the queen's castle. There, they find Vanessa severely damaged on the ground. She proclaims that both Vanessa and Domina are her children and she is free to treat them as she wishes, angering Asta. He tries rushing her with Finral's help, but the queen subdues him with a magic flock. Fanzel saves Asta from her clutches, and when they mean to attack the queen, she shows a crystal ball showing them their fate: absolute defeat. However, she senses another threat appear on her ball. An army of the Eye of the Midnight Sun approaches, with Fauna leading the charge. Will the queen set aside her differences and cooperate, or will it turn into an all-out battle royale? The Eye of the Midnight Sun, led by Fauna, advances on the witch's forest. Fauna sets the forest ablaze using her salamander's flame, and the witch queen is surprised, not expecting it to be so powerful. But what greatly worries her is that the Diamond Kingdom, led by Ladros and Mars, are also attacking with the intent of capturing her. Upon seeing Mars, Asta is relieved he is alive, and Fanzel likewise recognizes him as one of his former students. Despite not having the use of his arms, Asta declares he is going to defeat them both. Vanessa finally awakens to see her friends surrounding her, and she remembers that she came here to negotiate with the queen. Asta declines her help and attempts to cancel out the curse himself with his swords, but to no effect. Vanessa chastises him for his recklessness, but he insists that this is the only thing he can do. Noel turns to the witch queen and says that if Asta's arms are healed, then he and the rest of them will prove to be worthy allies in the coming battle. The queen considers this for a moment and concedes that the forest lacks the forces necessary to deal with 2 attacks at once. She heals Asta's arms with her magic, while Vanessa and Domina praise Noel for her handling of the queen. While the Black Bulls deal with the invading Midnight Sun, Fanzel, Domina and Mariella will deal with the Diamond Kingdom. As the Midnight Sun destroys a giant security golem, Shiden sends his men to capture witches to sell into slavery. Asta saves a witch, but she ungratefully attacks him before flying off, so Vanessa apologizes on her behalf, as witches believe men to be inferior beings. Meanwhile, Domina suggests to Fanzel that they split up to engage the Diamond forces, and he reluctantly agrees, acknowledging that there is no other way. Using Vanessa's thread magic, Asta closes the gap between him and Shiden, taking out several of his mages in the process. Fauna blasts a ball of fire towards him, but he deflects it back to her. She unleashes a second fire blast in response, causing an explosion that sends Asta tumbling down, but he is saved by Finral. Fauna leers at Asta, infuriated that he keeps getting in their way, while Asta says he'll keep doing it as many times as it takes. Fauna's attack forces the bulls back, and Vanessa comments on the salamander's great power. Asta rallies his comrades, saying that Veto was far more dangerous. Meanwhile, Noel tries to put out several forest fires, but they keep reigniting. Asta tries to talk to Fauna, but she ignores him and attacks him with another fireball. However, he continues to insist on talking things through, and Fauna recalls her past at Lick's village, where he had a human friend. During a wedding, they are slaughtered by humans and blamed Lick's friend, as he was the only one who knew of their location. In the present, Fauna flies into a rage, reminded of why she fights. A third eye grows on her forehead and her salamander grows larger, which warns the Black Bulls of the dangers to come. Marielle and Domina try to lead the witches out to safety while they think of a way to handle a security golem still prowling the area. The intense heat knocks back the Black Bulls, the very magic field preventing Finral and Vanessa from properly casting their spells. Fauna attacks them once more, but they are saved by a sea dragon's cradle. Noel has arrived. The four escape on hastily assembled brooms, while Fauna harasses them with even more fire strikes. Noel decides she alone can defeat the salamander, and after shaking off voices of doubt in her head, she unleashes a sea dragon's roar. Fauna, recognizing the danger, blocks and dodges the blast, but Noel redirects her spell and the water dragon sinks its teeth into the salamander, weakening it greatly. They observe in shock as Fauna casts crystal and restoration magic, which Asta notices is the same magic Mars uses. He asks her if she has any siblings, to which she replies she has none but Licht and the village. With Vanessa and Finral's magic restored, they launch Asta towards Fauna with his special move, Bull Thirst, cutting right through the salamander. The Witch Queen is impressed by Asta's power, remarking that he wasn't bragging at all. She peers into her second orb and sees the invasion of the Diamond Kingdom. Fanzel tries to negotiate with his old students, Mars and Ladros, but both reject his calls to retreat. Ladros explains that their king, old and withered, wants to know the Witch Queen's secret to nigh immortality. Fanzel rushes towards their mage army, taking out multiple at once. Mohawk, the commander, tries to keep his units in formation. Mariella sneaks in several witches for an attack and later assassinates Mohawk. Meanwhile, Domina's work on the golems soon bear fruit. She has turned them into suicide attackers, blowing up droves of diamond mages. Ladros tries to intervene, but he is stopped by Fanzel. Mars approaches to support his comrade, but Fanzel, knowing he is no match for him in close quarters, blows him away. Seeing his former pupil become a crazed, bloodthirsty lunatic, he feels he has no choice but to kill him with his most powerful spell, Gale. The attack appears to ravage him, but to Fanzel's horror, Ladros simply absorbs the magic, then warns him to save those dear to him. Fanzel rushes to protect Domina as Ladros unleashes his million lasers across the battlefield, indiscriminately killing friend and foe alike. When the dust settles, Ladros picks up Domina and tries to kill her, but she is saved by Mars, who has remembered his old teachings of protecting the innocent. With Mars choosing to defect, Ladros relishes in an opportunity to kill his hated friend. After Mariella's failed attempt at assassinating Ladros, Mars carries her, Domina, and Fanzel away from him. Mars remarks that the only way to beat Ladros is either to overload him with magic, or to use anti-magic. Fanzel remarks that they have the latter, and Mars reacts with surprise. Meanwhile, Asta and the bulls stare down an injured yet still powerful Fauna, whose flames begin to burn brighter. Fanzel and Mars fly near Asta, and as Fauna unleashes a fireball, they have Asta deflect it towards them and they send it straight into Ladros. Salamander's magic proves to be too much for him to handle and he burns into a crisp. When they land, the bulls are wary of Mars' presence, but Fanzel and Mars reassure them that he is there to help. Mars looks towards Fauna and realizes that it is the same Fauna he was with all those years ago at the Diamond Kingdom's training grounds. It was he who was tragically forced to kill her, unable to fulfill their promise of seeing the world together. Mars tries reaching out to her, but she refuses to acknowledge them. With most of her magic spent, she resorts to activating her self-destruct magic, with an exasperated Finral wondering if all Midnight Sun members have some form of self-destruct built in. Fireballs begin shooting out of Fauna, but Mars refuses to defend himself, saying he has no right to. Asta knocks some sense into him, pointing out that dying here would solve nothing. With Finral and Vanessa's magic useless against Salamander's flames, Mars and Asta elect to charge in, but they begin to burn up due to the intense heat. Mars casts his phoenix robe on Asta to heal him, and the two reflect on their mutual respect. Mars looks upon Asta as the epitome of the magic knight, while Asta admires Mars' unwavering desire to protect. Asta manages to slice through her magical barrier with his sword, but the spell continues. Mars throws himself at Fauna and embraces her, reminding her of who she truly is. As memories flood back into her, she happily embraces Mars back, moving him to tears. Her third eye has disappeared and everyone breathes a huge sigh of relief. Mars and Fauna reunite and they thank Asta. Fauna is also happy that Mars has made a friend, which Asta happily reinforces. However, they learn that Fauna has lost her memories beyond being killed by Mars. She manages to remember Licht finding her discarded after failing to materialize anything with a magic stone given to her. Fauna continues to have a desire to obtain a magic stone in the witch's forest, and the group decide to retrieve it, but Fanzel suddenly warns everyone to get down as a million lasers obliterate the battlefield. Ladros has survived, having earlier feigned defeat, while Vanessa and Finral lie unconscious while Mars is knocked out while defending Fauna. Asta moves to face Ladros, but he backs away, knowing his anti-magic capabilities. He toys with Asta from afar, battering him with several lasers, knowing he has no means to close the gap without the help of his comrades. He believes that there are only two kinds of people in the world, users and the used, and he plans to use Mars and Fauna as stepping stones to climb even higher. However, suddenly the Demon Dweller sword slices through the air and stabs Ladros in the shoulder, crippling his ability to use magic, sending him crashing into the ground. He struggles to remove the sword and tries to trick Asta into removing it, but to no avail. He uses the last of his magic, remove the sword, and escape, taking Fauna hostage. He threatens her to release her salamander, lest he kill Mars. Once she does, he attempts to consume it, gifting him with power even greater than that of a spirit, according to Fanzel. Ladros remarks he could take on the entire Diamond Kingdom and begins peppering Asta with a barrage of lasers. Observing from afar, the Witch Queen uses her magic to reveal Asta's true nature, and a dark, malevolent energy begins swirling in his arm. After a battle with his inner demon, Asta emerges radically transformed. His right arm has been enveloped by black magic and he has grown a wing. Critically, he is now able to keep up with and exceed Ladro's speed. Now forced on the defensive, Ladros begins to flee. Meanwhile, the Witch Queen observes Asta battle with great interest and remarks that no one but Asta could wield the demon swords as they drain the user's magic. Instead, the anti-magic has been flowing into him, which he had been unconsciously putting a lid on. Through the witch's magic, that lid is gone and Asta is made its vessel. Ladros continues to run away, but Asta easily closes the gap, deflecting and parrying everything that is thrown his way. In a desperate move, Ladros attempts to use a powerful beam, but Asta defeats him with his new black meteorite. Ladros is defeated and his mage stone shatters. Noel is worried that Asta may have become more sinister, but is relieved to see him behave like his old self, as he lectures Ladros on taking responsibility for his actions. The demonic energy leaves Asta's body and he is suddenly overcome by pain all over. The Witch Queen teleports to their location. Asta eagerly tells her that they defeated both the Diamond Army and Eye of the Midnight Sun, which the Queen praises him for. He asks her to heal his friends, but she instead casts her blood magic, restraining everyone except him on a bloody cross. Using her magic, she controls Asta like a puppet, forcing him to draw his sword and healing him with her blood cocoon. She then gives Asta an opportunity to rampage and orders him to kill everyone present. To everyone's horror, Asta begins advancing on Noel first per the Queen's orders. To the Queen's shock, Asta manages to regain some semblance of control over himself, but the Queen reinforces her blood magic in Asta and forces him forward. Vanessa begs for mercy, but the Queen refuses. She had allowed Vanessa to run free as her divinations foretold that she would eventually return with something she desired, but did not expect it to be two anti-magic weapons. She reasserts herself as Vanessa's mother and her only family. Vanessa recalls her past in being trapped in cage, prevented from seeing the outside world. Yami one day intrudes on the forest, going toe-to-toe with the Queen, but unable to defeat her. He punches a hole into Vanessa's room and says that she is free to go. Vanessa hesitates, but decides to take flight, a bird now given the chance to fly, and joins the Black Bulls. Crying out to protect her family, she wishes for the power to change fate itself, and a new spell is recorded in her grimoire, the Red Thread of Fate, taking on the form of a playful cat. The Queen, curious, tries to have Asta kill Noel, but when the cat touches him, he miraculously misses, even though it looked like she had died. The Queen instead instructs Asta to cut down Finral instead, but the cat once again twists fate in Vanessa's favor. The cat then causes Asta to hit himself, cancelling out the effects of the blood magic, freeing him from the Queen's control. Excited that Vanessa now has the power to control fate, the Queen tries taking it for herself, activating the blood magic within Vanessa. However, the cat jumps and touches her, cancelling her magic. Vanessa approaches the Queen, still in disbelief that her magic could be overcome, and says that her power to change fate will only be shared by those with whom she has a bond with, and she has no bond with her. The Queen recalls a memory of Vanessa and she realizes that she had forgotten something far more important than perfection. Admitting defeat, she tells Vanessa she is free to do as she wishes. She then casts her blood recovery magic, healing everyone in the witch's forest. As the group miraculously recover, Asta excitedly begins exercising again, and Noel bashfully tells him to put on some clothes. As the Queen walks away, Nero lands on her shoulder, pecking at her earring, and she curiously wonders about the bird. They later ask the Queen about the magic stone the Midnight Sun were searching for, and she removes her earring and gives it to them, saying she has no use for it. She explains that the magic stones enhances the user's powers, but only those of the elf tribe could use them several centuries ago. She remarks that Fauna's third eye was a forbidden spell cast by someone else upon her, and hypothesizes that the Midnight Sun are made up of descendants of those elves. Finral readily writes all this information down. Lastly, the Queen remarks that Asta's swords were once owned by the leader of those elves, which is the nail in the coffin for an information overload, and he faints. Outside, everyone prepares to bid each other farewell. Mars and Ladros will return to the Diamond Kingdom. Fanzel, Domina, and Mariella will take care of Fauna. Mars promises to Fauna that they will see the world together one day, eliciting hoots from the crowd and jealous cries from Finral. As they prepare to leave, the Queen says that Vanessa is free to visit any time, and she walks away without a word. Mars bids Asta goodbye, reaffirming their bond as friends. Asta, Finral, and Vanessa return to their base, where Yami greets them unenthusiastically. They present him with a magic stone and he excitedly tells Asta to get him some alcohol. Upon returning, he is instructed to rest. The other Black Bulls return one by one, having radically transformed personalities, but they revert to normal upon seeing Asta's arms are healed. Using the food Charmy brought back, Yami prepares a feast but bosses Asta into performing several household chores. Vanessa recalls the Queen's words to visit her homeland anytime she wants, but she strips down to her underwear and declares that the Black Bulls is where she feels the most home. At the Golden Dawn base, Klaus, Mimosa, and Yuno read the reports regarding the Black Bull's exploits in the Witch's Forest. Klaus and Mimosa are glad that Asta's arms are okay, but Yuno is quite indifferent. Klaus has called his protégés over to study the reports about the Midnight Sun to prepare for any eventual battle against the group. Their first appearance was during their attack on the capital, where the Magic Knights battled fiercely to contain the droves of undead. It was here that they isolated and nearly killed Fugolian, taking his pendant in the process. Reading another report, the Black Bulls once again encountered their presence in Neen when Yami was narrowly saved by 3 squad captains against the Third Eye. It was here that the kingdom first discovered the Midnight Sun's aim to collect the magic stones to place into a certain stone tablet. Likewise, the Black Bulls faced off against Veto in the underwater temple, where they defeated him and prevented another magic stone from falling into the Midnight Sun's hands. Lastly, Klaus reads the latest report detailing the events of the Witch's Forest, revealing that the elves of old are involved with the magic stones, which Mimosa and Yuno were led to believe were only myths. After finishing reading, they reaffirm their mission to defend the king from any and all threats. Meanwhile, Yami delivers the queen's magic stone to Julius, and he later praises the Black Bulls for once again for achieving stellar feats, and Yami dryly remarks that they could use some more golden stars. Julius does his best to ignore the comment and says that they were able to find the Midnight Sun's base, but warns that they have made preparations to make their next move. Dressed in a traditional happy coat, Yami tells the Black Bulls of an upcoming festival. Asta is excited, and Noel has Finral explain what the festival is. Finral says that the magic squads compete for the most stars every year, and the winner is announced during the festival. Noel remarks that they'd be fighting for last place anyway, but Yami proudly corrects her. They are dead last without a contest. The Black Bulls head out to the festival and go about their own way. Asta has Finral bring over Kahono and Kayato. Asta asks Kayato if he brought his leg, and upon confirming that he did, opens a flask filled with the Witch Queen's magic. It pours out, healing Kayato's leg and restoring Kahono's voice. The song and dance of the sea is alive once more. They thank Asta profusely for healing them, and Kahono immediately sings a song which enchanting those around them. Magna arrives and invites Asta to help him with his fireworks, but assumes that their group is out on a double date. Wanting to goad Noel into admitting her feelings for Asta, Kahono decides to make it one. She links arms with Asta, driving Noel insane, while Kayato assumes that the double date is for him to get closer with Noel. After a while, Kahono is irritated that Noel is so indecisive and decides to bring them into a haunted house together, planning to use his cronies to scare girls his way. Sek instead causes Noel and Asta to panic, thinking the zombies have returned. After leaving the haunted house, Kahono realizes that Asta is far too dense and asks him what he feels about Noel. But just then a crying child begins annoying festival goers, and they assume it must be a peasant child. Noel tries to calm her down, and with a small performance set up by her and the others, the child stops crying. Kahono uses her voice to call out the child's parent, and a mother comes to claim her child, thanking them for watching over her. However, the mother sees that Noel is royalty, causing her to bow her head, but Noel reassures her that the festival is for anyone and everyone to enjoy. Recalling Kohana's question, Asta says that he likes Noel quite a bit, an answer that turns Noel beet red. She blasts Asta away with her magic, making him wonder what he did wrong, while Kahono laments that if Asta is too dense, then Noel is not honest. When Asta lands, he sees Yami and Jack the Ripper in a showdown and wonders what they could possibly be fighting over. That's all for today. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Until next time.